There could be anywhere from one god to 33 million gods in Hinduism. So there's four major castes. The Brahmins are the priests, and then there were the warriors, the traders, and then there was none of the above, basically, everyone else.
Wow.
So, I grew up in a Brahmin family. So there was a priest, usually very highly educated, typical for someone from their background to at least have a master's, if not a PhD and a postdoc degree. We were the one which worshipped Shiva, essentially. You really worship all of them. It's just that in some way personally connected to Shiva. Now, I will say Hindus in general, the idea of a personal God is perhaps not as strong as we as Christians think. It's a lot more impersonal and a lot more ritualistic. So when I started to go to college, and now I'm specializing in calculus and advanced calculus and thermodynamics and engineering, the idea of a God that I had grown up with just began to become more distant. It's something that we've created with our hands to suddenly become our God. Seemed very odd to me. I felt like instead of God creating us, we were creating God.
Did you feel better as a Hindu or an atheist?
So atheism started off being intellectually very interesting. I could ask a lot of questions.
I see.
Which I did, which is how I drifted away from Hinduism. It was only later on I realized I was asking questions, and I was using that to point out the fact that at least Hinduism didn't answer any other questions. But I myself wasn't answering any questions as an atheist either. I was just asking questions. So by this time I'd got my bachelor's degree. I was working on my master's degree.
Wow.
And in quick succession, I met three people who were all extremely well regarded in their fields of work. So one was a professor working on protein modeling and origin of life questions and so on. And he was at Yale Medical School.
Wow.
So I'm looking at him and say, he's not a dummy. Why is he a Christian? So suddenly these two worlds that I thought were independent seem to connect up. And I'm asking myself, why is there a connection? How could he be a top researcher and be a Christian? And then I met an entrepreneur who was a civil engineer who was like that. And then I met a lawyer friend of mine who eventually became very instrumental in helping me grow. And he was like that too, like extremely successful in what he does, very analytical. And here he is saying Christ is the center of my life. And I couldn't imagine myself saying Shiva is the center of my life. That's not how I thought about it. So that got me curious enough to start a journey. And for the first time in my life, I realized I could ask analytical questions. I could analyze the case for God. Even that was a revelation to me that could be done.